I booked the rooftop pool after midnight. The water knew first. I didn't book the pool to swim. I booked it to see what would rise when everything else went still. The Ellison sits on the lip of the river like it knows where everyone is going. Its lobby smells the way money imagines good behavior. By day the roof is a quiet grid of loungers and correct umbrellas. By night it becomes a reflection that refuses to lie. I came because my wife texted. Team dinner turned into drinks, might crash at the office. And because the part of me that believes statements without handrails had been letting me down lately. My name is Ethan. I make launch plans for a living, which is to say I tell the future what time it needs to show up. For months, Nora and I had been living with fewer arguments than furniture. We were tidy even when we didn't mean to be. The weather between us had grown like ivy, loyal, decent, and interested mostly in coverage. I saw her at the lobby bar without having to look for her. She was in a black dress she bought the week our old life cracked just enough for light. She sat on a curve of velvet with two people from her team, and one man I could have identified even if you had left me in the dark. Julian. He's the field strategist with that good-humored competence people use as a cover. He laughs with his shoulders. He knows how to stand near married women without making strangers uncomfortable. He stood near my wife like he'd been practicing. I didn't ask to be seated. I kept my coat on and drifted past the elevators as if I were checking for exit signs. Nora saw me and decided not to be skittish. She gave me that small tilt of the head that says you can be part of this story as long as you accept the packing. She excused herself from the velvet and joined me near a column that had never considered being wrong. "Ethan," she said, as if reading a simple noun off a sheet, "you're up late." "I'm trying it," I said, seeing whether the night admits things the day edits. Her mouth did a small traitor of a smile and then behaved. "We're just finishing," she said. "Slides tomorrow. I didn't want to wake you." "You woke me," I said, "just not with the part of you I was hopping for." She looked toward the table out of habit, not need. Julian was showing the junior designer something on his phone. He laughed, the gentle version he uses when the joke needs to work but also survive HR. "Come up," she said. "There's a place I want you to see." Not the room, the roof. I'd already booked it by text while the car was still deciding whether to be brave, private swim, midnight to 1. The concierge had typed the reply with the sort of courtesy only money gives permission to enjoy. The elevator took us up as if our patience were fragile. The door unscrolled a night that wanted to be learned. All the city's glass had gathered to tell us what we looked like. The pool was a long, lucent bruise of blue with a stripe of light running through it. Wind moved gently enough to agree with the sign. When the attendant saw my reservation, he vanished with an apology neither of us earned. Nora put her hands on the rail and leaned like she'd already decided to forgive something. "Why here?" I asked. "Because water tells the truth before we do," she said. She unzipped her dress as if the zipper had always been a trapdoor. Beneath she wore a black suit that made the night listen. I took off my shoes like a man escaping a small lie and rolled my pants above my knees. She walked down the steps until the water claimed her waist. The city muttered. The moon tried a face and decided against it. "Julian is kind," she said. "He stands in the right places. He likes handing people the last screw for something they've been building alone. I'm not sleeping with him. I'm not confessing anything you need to punish." She looked at me, steady and correct, and smiled the tiniest proof I am not always the better man I try to be. I am admitting desire has a good memory. I stepped in beside her and let the heat choose how to speak. I touched her wrist under the surface. The water was a quiet witness. My thumb slid over the small ridge of bone as if reading a sentence that had been waiting to be said aloud. "Have you kissed him?" I asked, and found I had asked it like a librarian returning a late book. "No," she said, "but I wanted to know if wanting could be honest. Most days I want to be generous and good. Some nights I want to feel the back of my neck pay attention." I thought of Julian's shoulder, the way he stands when he listens. I thought of mine, held too long at desks where no one is in love with what we make. I cupped Nora's jaw, tilted her face a fraction toward mine, and kissed her softly, then again, then with the kind of accuracy that only people who know the rest of each other can afford. She rose into it and made a sound I don't have the right verb for, and that the hotel pretended not to hear. "I can name what I want," she said against my mouth. "I want you to invite me when you're interesting, not just when you're lonely." "Come with me," I said. "Let me show you the part of me the calendar doesn't manage." We swam a slow lap that felt like writing with our bodies a sentence the day had refused to sign. She chased my shoulder. I let her catch it. I chased the place at the base of her throat where skin changes its mind. She let me keep it. When we reached the rail again, she hooked her arms over the edge and looked at the city as though it had apologized, and she had decided to accept. The lights carried on being wrong and useful. A siren negotiated with itself in the distance. I pressed my palm flat between her shoulder blades and felt her carriage change. "I almost stood too close to him in the elevator," she said. "You know the distance I mean. The one where you can feel the other person's breath but still claim your mouth hasn't been consulted. That's a distance that can ruin people who are proud of not being ruined." I put my forehead to hers. There are languages only bones share. She laughed under her breath. "You smell like rye," she said. "You smell like water that has been caught telling the truth," I said. She kissed me again, harder, and I answered like someone who has been carrying an apology too far from its proper noun. My hand slid over her shoulders, down the line of her ribs, around to her waist where skin admits generosity. Her thigh lifted and wrapped my hip. My fingers slipped beneath the band of her suit and stopped at the place where the difference between mercy and victory becomes harmful to know. The hotel breathed out. "Come upstairs with me," I said. "Let's try to remember why we built a door together when so much of the world is windows." We dried without ceremony, wrapped in towels that smelled like someone else's money. Her dress went back over her like night retrying itself. In the elevator she stood at that distance. You can either brave or declare a crime. I watched our faces in the mirror and decided I could be interesting again. In my room she turned on only the lamp that makes truth easier. She took her hair out of the clip and let it forget the day. I unbuttoned my shirt and folded it with the false care of men who have spent too long pretending not to be clumsy. She sat on the bed and pressed her knees apart just enough to be gentle and cruel to the hours that weren't invited. I knelt between them and kissed her through the fabric like a man earning back a language one vowel at a time. She drew me up and onto her, and we made a sound the carpet agreed to keep. "Tell me something that isn't polite," she said, and I did, and she answered with a truth I had not been healthy enough to hear in a while. I didn't ask whether she was thinking of Julian. I wasn't thinking of him either. I was thinking of how we keep putting things in rooms and then forgetting to visit them. We didn't sleep so much as let the clock be the only one doing a job. At 6, her alarm negotiated a compromise. We showered in turns because some rituals are guardians. She left a line of fog on the mirror that looked like forgiveness smudged with intention. I watched her knot her hair and test the door handle. She turned back and kissed me with a kindness that made me hungry. "Breakfast," she said, "ate the gym." "I'll bring strategy," I said, and she smiled, the quick one. The one that says for one more minute the world is less incorrect than usual. The gym smelled like lemons and the first day of school. Tape sulked across the floor in straight lines, deeply wrong about what shape the day would need. Volunteers moved with the choreographed chaos of people who have chosen to be alive on purpose. Julian stood by a stack of tables, sleeves shoved, eyes careful. He saw me. I saw him. We chose the version of ourselves that could live with itself later. "Morning," he said. "Morning," I said. "She invited me." "Good," he said. He gave me the weight of a table. I carried it. It felt exactly like a table and completely like something else. Nora crossed the floor with a clipboard and a grin that could persuade Tape to become humble. She touched my wrist in passing. I breathed as if I had invented it. We worked. The day forgave us. When a knot refused to be lined, Julian held the free end and I pulled, and together we taught it to stop performing. A woman I didn't know brought a pink box and declared it policy. We ate before anyone tried to win. Later, Nora taped a piece of paper to the supply closet door, 2 sentences she'd scribbled on hotel stationery before leaving the room. "Invite me when you're interesting. Don't try to win hungry." Around noon, the first wave of families arrived with faces that looked like tests we couldn't afford to fail. The space became the right size. The blue tape found its outside voice and shut up. I glanced once at Julian and found him looking at my wife with the kind of respect that knows how to stand a step back without pretending he wanted to. Something unclenched in my chest that I hadn't realized had hands. Later at home, I taped the pool passes to the side of the fridge under the magnet shaped like a boat we bought one summer we didn't ruin. They are not evidence. They are not threats. They are a reminder that when a door is propped with a shoe, you can open it yourself and discover that the room contains exactly the person you promised to keep finding. We don't tell the story in public the way gossip likes it. We tell it to each other when the water wants to listen. Sometimes she admits she wanted to see if her neck would pay attention. Sometimes I admit I wanted to see whether my hands could remember an alphabet I blamed the calendar for erasing. On good nights, both things are true and harmless. If you want scandal, I owe you a better hotel and worse people. What I have is a roof that didn't lie, a man who understood how to step back without performing nobility, and 2 people who learned to make room for heat without setting the house on fire. We invite each other when we're interesting, not only when we're afraid. We eat before we try to win. We touch in daylight as if the sun issues licenses. And when the night asks whether we have anything to add, we let the water answer because it knew first.